Jesus suffered the most humiliating death just for you so you could live for eternity. In Romans 6:23 it says, the gift of Jesus is eternal life with him in heaven. He demonstrated love, his own love, which is the perfect love, with Jesus dying on the cross for you so unselfishly. Because he didn't have to do that. He didn't have to, but he did it because he knew it would have made things right for you, especially. We're going to be reading about the way he died. We're going to be looking at Matthew chapter 27, starting on verse 27. I'm also in the New King James Version. So we have, first, verse 27. Then the soldiers of the governor took Jesus in the praetorium and gathered the whole garrison around him. And they stripped him and put a scarlet robe on him. And they twisted a crown of thorns and put it on his head, and a reed in his right hand. And they bowed the knee before him and mocked him, saying, Hail, King of the Jews. Imagine how he felt, because he felt like us too. He felt like humans too. That must be so humiliating. Now, verse 30. Then they spat on him and took the reed and struck him on the head. And when they had mocked him, they took the robe off of him and put his own clothes on him, and they led him away to be crucified. Now as they came out, they found a man, Cyrene, Simon by name. Him they compelled to bear his cross, and when they had come to a place called Golgotha, that is to say, the place of the skull, they gave him sour wine mingled with gall to drink. But when he had tasted it, he would not drink it. Then they crucified him, and divided his garments, casting lots that it might be filled, spoken by the prophet. They divided my garments among them, and for my clothing they cast lots. Sitting down, they kept him over there, and they put up over his head the accusation written against him. This is Jesus, the King of the Jews. Then two robbers were crucified with him, one on the right and another on the left. And then those who passed by blasphemed him, saying, waging their heads, and saying, You who destroy the temple and build it in 3 days, save yourself. If you are the Son of God, come down from the cross. So in verse 40, it says how Jesus stated, he destroys the temple and builds it in 3 days. That is saying he is the temple. So he's predicting his own death. But people are so blind to understand this, so blind to see this. Verse 41, likewise the chief priests also mocking with scribes and elders said, he saved others, himself he cannot save. If he is the King of Israel, let him come down from the cross, and we will believe him. He trusted in God. Let him deliver him now, if he will have him, for he said, I am the Son of God. Even the robbers who were crucified with him reviled him with the same thing. Now from the 6th hour until the 9th hour, there was darkness all over the land. And about the 9th hour, Jesus cried out in a loud voice, my God, why have you forsaken me? Some of those who stood there when they heard that said, this man is calling for Elijah. Immediately one of them ran, took a sponge, filled it with sour wine, and put on a reed, and offered it to him to drink. The rest said, let him alone, and let's see if Elijah will come save him. So, these people are waiting for a sign that this man is the Son of God, that Jesus is the Son of God. These people are so desperate. So desperate. They're always looking for a sign. They're so blind to see the actual truth, because they had seen so many miracles, but they were so prideful. The Pharisees were so prideful, just wanting to prove him wrong and thinking he was wrong so passionately. Verse 50, and Jesus cried out again with a loud voice and yielded him up his spirit. Then behold, the veil of the temple was torn in two from the top to bottom, and the earth quaked, and the rocks were split. And the graves were opened, and many bodies of the saints who were fallen asleep were raised. And coming out of the graves after his resurrection, they went into the holy city and appeared to many. So when the centurion and those with him who were guarding Jesus saw the earthquake and things that happened, they feared greatly, saying, truly, this was the Son of God. And many women followed Jesus from Galilee, ministering to him, were there looking from afar. Among whom were Mary Magdalene, Mary the mother of James and Joseph, and the mother of Zebedee's sons. Now when evening had come, there was a rich man from Arimathea, named Joseph, who had himself also become a disciple of Jesus. This man went to Pilate and asked for the body of Jesus, and Pilate commanded the body to be given him. And then Joseph had taken the body, he wrapped it in clean linen cloth, and laid it in his tomb, which he had hewn out the rock, And he held a large stone against the door of the tomb, and departed. And Mary Magdalene was there, the other Mary, sitting opposite from the tomb. On the next day, which followed the day of preparation, the chief priests and the Pharisees gathered together to Pilate, saying, Sir, we remember while he was still alive, how that deceiver said, After 3 days I will rise. Therefore command that the tomb be made secure until the third day, lest the disciples had come by night and steal him away, and say to the people, He has risen from the dead. So the last deception would be worse than the first. Pilate said to them, You have a guard. Go your way, and make it secure, as you know how. So they went and made the tomb secure, sealing the stone and setting the guard. Basically, let's go back to verse 64. It says, Therefore command the tomb be made secure until the third day, lest the disciples come by night and steal him away and say to the people, He has risen. So basically, the Pharisees are saying here is, He's a liar. Jesus is an absolute liar. He's not going to rise again in 3 days. So the disciples are going to take him away and act like he did. That's how stubborn these people were. And so he said, You honor me with your lips, but your heart is far from me. So these people, once again, they look so good. They're the top people. But in reality, this is what they're doing. And it doesn't look so top dog to me, or top dog to anybody. Because, this isn't the real deal. Jesus is the real deal. And they're so stubborn. So stubborn. And they're like, yeah, we're right. We're right and you're wrong. They don't consider another way. They consider one way. So, that's some way with people today. We see people like, oh yeah, my way is right, your way is wrong. And people argue all the time, about whose doctrine is right, whose doctrine is wrong. Really, we should be focusing on who died and rose again 3 days later. That's Jesus. Jesus died so you could live. The most perfect example of love. Example of John 3:16. God sent his own son down here because he loved the world. Loved the world so much. He sent his son to basically die on a cross. But instead, he rose again 3 days later. That's the most important thing about it. Crazy thing is, he let himself die. He could have easily, God, the Father in heaven, could have easily took him off that cross, but he didn't. You know why? Because he cared so much about us. That's what some people still need to realize. God cares so much for us. He doesn't need us on the earth, but he wants us. That's how amazing. Our own creator, the top dog, wants us. That's amazing.